The shuttle from Earth landed softly on the silver platform. Morgan stepped out and looked around at the Galactic Academy. The buildings were tall and made of crystal that caught the light from 3 distant suns. Everything was clean and shiny, and nothing like her home in Wyoming. She was 17 years old with brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Her eyes were calm, and she moved with the easy confidence of someone who had grown up doing hard work. She carried only one bag with everything she owned for the next year. Administrator came to meet her. He was a strange creature with 4 compound eyes and a body covered in smooth plates. His voice came through a small device that turned his clicks and whistles into English. "Welcome to the Academy," he said. "You are our first human student in many years. We have made special rooms for you because of your different needs." Nodded politely. "Thank you, I appreciate the gravity changes." What the administrator did not say was something everyone already knew. Earth had been marked as a Category 7. This was the highest danger rating any planet could get. Most alien species thought Earth should not exist at all because it was so dangerous. Every student at the Academy had received a warning packet about humans the week before. The packet said many things. It said human bones were as hard as stone. It said human muscles were 3 times stronger than most species. It said humans could control their own body heat. It said humans used to hunt animals by chasing them until the animals fell down from being too tired. The most scary thing in the packet was this: humans had grown up being both hunters and hunted. This meant they were always watching for danger, even when they were safe. Followed the administrator through the halls. Groups of students moved away as she walked past. Some pressed themselves against the walls. Others changed direction completely to avoid her. She pretended not to notice any of this. Her room was on the first floor. The furniture was made of heavy metal and bolted to the floor. The bed frame was strong steel. A note on her desk said the medical team had studied human blood and was ready to help if she got hurt. Unpacked her bag slowly. She had 3 sets of clothes. She had a tablet with her school books. She had a small picture of her family standing in front of their ranch with mountains behind them. At the bottom of her bag was a hunting knife. Her father had given it to her when she turned 14. She did not expect trouble, but she had grown up on a ranch. She knew bad things could happen when you did not expect them. That night she went to the welcome dinner in the grand hall. The room was huge and filled with 300 students from dozens of different worlds. The noise was loud and strange. Her translator device worked hard to turn all the clicks, whistles, and rumbles into words she could understand. Found an empty table in the back of the room. She had barely sat down when a shadow fell over her. "You are the human." She looked up. The speaker was almost 7 feet tall with blue skin. A ridge of bony plates ran down his head like a crown. His species was known for being warriors who looked down on weaker beings. "I am," said calmly. "I am. My family has served in the military for 12 generations. We have heard stories about your kind, hunters who never stop chasing, pack killers." Said nothing. "I do not believe it," continued. His lip curled to show sharp teeth. "You are small, soft. You have no claws, no armor, no poison. I think the stories are lies." Around them, the hall had grown quiet. Other students were watching and listening. Stood up slowly. She was a full foot shorter than and much lighter. She looked up at him without any fear in her eyes. "I am here to learn," she said quietly. "Not to fight. I think you should do the same." Laughed, a harsh sound like barking. "Is that a warning?" from a soft little human. Held his eyes with hers. Her face did not change, but something in her look made his laughter stop. "That was not a warning," she said. "It was just an observation. I do not want trouble with you or anyone else, but I grew up on a world where everything tries to kill you. The air, the water, the plants, the animals, even the weather. My people learned long ago that the best way to stay alive is to be the most dangerous thing in any room." She paused for a moment. I am trying very hard not to be that here. Please do not make it difficult for me. For a long moment, no one moved or spoke, then stepped back. Something unfamiliar moved across his face. It might have been doubt. It might have been the first small seed of respect. We will see, he said and walked away. Sat back down and continued eating. Around her, the hall slowly returned to its normal noise, but she noticed that no one came to her table, and when she walked back to her room that night, every hallway was empty. The next few days were quiet, went to her classes and did her work. She learned Galactic Standard quickly because human brains were good at finding patterns in language. Her teachers were impressed but careful. They graded her work from far away. She made no friends. The other students kept their distance. Their fear was too deep to be fixed with polite words and smiles, accepted this with quiet sadness. She had not come here to be popular. She had come to learn and to show that humans were more than the monsters everyone thought they were. But every night, alone in her room, she looked at the picture of her family and felt very far from home. She thought about her mother's warm hugs and her father's strong hands. She thought about the horses and the mountains and the big sky that went on forever. She thought about her grandmother, who had died when was 12. Her grandmother had been the one who taught her the most important lesson of all. The strongest people I know, her grandmother used to say, are the ones who have every reason to be hard but choose to be kind instead. Held onto those words like a light in the darkness. She would be kind. She would be patient. She would build bridges instead of walls. But deep inside, in a place she tried not to look at too often, she knew the truth about herself. She was a product of Earth, a child of and if anyone pushed her too far, they would learn why humans had survived when so many other species had not. She hoped it would never come to that. She was wrong. 3 weeks passed at the academy, went to every class and finished every assignment. She studied hard and learned fast. Her professors wrote good things about her work, but they still kept their distance. Everyone did. The first real test came in her advanced xenobiology class. Professor Al was one of the delicate moth-like creatures had seen on her first day. They had thin bodies and beautiful wings that looked like stained glass. They were known for being very smart, but their bodies were extremely weak. A hard push could break their hollow bones. A sudden change in temperature could make them very sick. The laboratory was filled with specimens from across the galaxy. Strange creatures floated in glass tanks with blue lights keeping them frozen in time. Students worked in pairs, looking at samples and writing notes. Had been paired with a trill named Ra. The trill was a small being that looked a bit like a frog with smooth skin that glowed with soft light. She had large eyes that showed every emotion she felt. For the first 2 weeks, Ra had avoided looking at it all, but now they had to work together. "The sample is ready," Ra said in a tiny voice. "You may begin the analysis." Leaned over the microscope and adjusted it carefully. The specimen was a cell sample from a creature called a. These beings could share thoughts with each other across great distances. Their cells had special connections that made this possible. "This is amazing," said softly. "The way the neurons connect is beautiful. No wonder they can communicate so well." Ra blinked in surprise. Her skin flickered with curious light. "You think it is beautiful?" "Of course. Life is always beautiful, even the dangerous kinds." Before Ra could respond, a loud noise came from the other side of the room. "It is loose. The specimen is loose." Turned quickly. A containment unit had broken. The blue light that kept the creature frozen had gone out. Inside the unit was a beast from a world almost as dangerous as Earth. It was the size of a large dog with many legs, sharp spines covering its body, and a mouth full of fangs that dripped with poison. The creature was also very fast. It burst out of its broken container and hit the floor running. Students screamed and tried to get away, but their panic made them clumsy. Professor Al called for everyone to stay calm, but her weak voice was lost in all the noise. The creature ran straight toward a group of students who had frozen in fear. Their delicate bodies could not survive an attack. One bite would kill them. Moved without thinking. She ran across the room faster than anyone expected. She jumped over one table and slid under another. Her body remembered all the times she had chased scared horses on the ranch. It remembered the day she had tackled a hurt deer to stop it from running off a cliff. She reached the creature just before it reached the. Her hand closed around the back of its neck, finding the one spot where its nerves came together. She had read about this in her textbook just last week. She squeezed with exactly the right amount of pressure. The creature went stiff and fell to the ground. Held it down, breathing a little hard but staying calm. "Someone bring a containment unit," she said. "This one needs a new tank." No one moved. She looked up. The whole room was frozen. 30 alien students stared at her with looks of shock and fear. Professor Al was shaking so hard her wings blurred. Slowly let go of the creature and stood up. "It is not dead, just unable to move. The effect will go away in about 10 minutes." Silence filled the room. Then Ra stepped forward. She was carrying a small containment unit. Her hands were shaking and her glowing skin was pulsing with stress, but she walked toward without stopping. "I will help secure it," she said quietly. Together they put the frozen creature into the new unit and turned on the blue light. It went still, safely contained once more. Professor Al flew down to her desk. Her many eyes were fixed on. "How did you know how to do that?" "Chapter 7 of our textbook said. It talks about dangerous animals from high-gravity worlds. I read it last week." "You read it and remembered exactly where to grab it." Shrugged. "I am good at remembering things that help me survive." The professor was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised everyone. She bowed, her thin body dipping low in a sign of deep respect. "Thank you, Morgan. You saved the lives of my students today." Felt her face grow warm. "I was just trying to help." "Yes," Professor Al said softly, "you were. That is what makes it special." That evening found Ra waiting outside her room. The Trill was holding a small package wrapped in glowing cloth. "I wanted to give you this," Ra said. Her large eyes met for the first time. "It is a tradition among my people. When someone saves a life, we give them a gift of light." Opened the package. Inside was a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. "We call it a soul stone," Ra explained. "It will glow as long as I am alive. It is a way of saying that you carry a piece of me with you now." Felt something warm spread through her chest. "Ra, I do not know what to say." "You could say we are friends," the Trill suggested shyly, "if you would like that." Smiled. It was her first real smile since coming to the academy. "I would like that very much." That night she put the soul stone on her window. Its gentle light filled her small room with a soft blue glow. And for the first time since leaving Earth, she did not feel so alone. Word of what happened in the laboratory spread quickly across the campus. Within a few days, the story had changed through many. Some versions said had killed the creature with her bare hands. Others said she had torn it apart and eaten its heart to gain its strength. The truth was less exciting but somehow more frightening. She had simply known exactly how to stop a deadly creature, and she had done it without fear, without hesitation, without even raising her heartbeat much above normal. This worried some students more than the wild stories did. The students were especially bothered. Their culture valued strength above all else. Warriors earned respect by defeating worthy enemies. The idea that a small, soft human girl could be more dangerous than their best fighters was an insult to everything they believed. Felt this insult most of all. He had laughed at on her first night. He had called her a liar. Now he had to face the truth that she might be exactly what the reports said, a survivor of a world so deadly that living there meant becoming deadlier. But pride did not break easily, and was about to make a decision that would change everything. Stood in his advisor's office with his fists clenched tight. His blue skin was darker than usual, which happened when felt strong emotions. "A formal challenge," his advisor said slowly. "You want to challenge the human to combat." "She has made a joke of honor," growled. "She acts like strength means nothing. She treats danger like it is normal. She looks at our warriors and sees nothing to respect. Perhaps because she grew up facing worse things than our warriors." Slammed his fist into the wall. The metal bent under his blow. "Then let her prove it. Let her face a warrior in the arena and show everyone what strength really means." The formal challenge was delivered the next morning. Found the sealed document waiting outside her door. It carried the symbol of house, an old mark that meant honorable combat. Ra was with her, and the Trill's glowing skin flickered with alarm as she read what it said. "He cannot do this," Ra said. "The Academy has rules against fighting between species." "It is a formal challenge," said, looking over the paper. "Different rules apply. The Academy allows ritual combat between people who both agree to it, as long as no one gets killed. You cannot be thinking about accepting this." Folded the paper and put it in her pocket. "I am thinking about it." "Is the son of a fleet admiral. He has trained to fight since he could walk. He is twice your size and 3 times your weight. His bones have metal in them." "I know." "Then why would you even consider this?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she sat down on her bed and looked at her friend with tired eyes. "Because if I say no, it never stops. Every student here will see me as someone who backed down. Other species will follow. I will spend the rest of my time at this school always looking over my shoulder. And if you say yes and lose, then at least I will have their respect," smiled a little. "Culture respects courage more than winning. If I face and fight well, even if I lose, the challenges will stop. The game of who is stronger will be over." Ra's big eyes grew even bigger. "And if you win, then the challenges will definitely stop." The arena was an old building at the heart of the Academy. It had been built long ago when fights between species were common. No one had used it in over 100 years, but the old tradition still had power. When arrived on the day of the fight, she found the stands filled with students from every world. Word had spread everywhere. Everyone wanted to see the human face a warrior. Was already waiting in the sandy ring. He wore the traditional fighting clothes, leather straps that showed off his muscled arms and chest. His bony head plates had been polished until they shined like metal. He looked like a killer born and raised for violence. Wore her normal clothes, simple pants, a practical shirt, boots strong enough for ranch work. She carried no weapons. The challenge said the fight would be hand-to-hand only. Administrator stood at the edge of the ring. All 4 of his eyes moved nervously between the 2 fighters. "This challenge has been officially registered," he announced. His voice was made loud enough for everyone to hear. "The fight will continue until one person gives up, falls unconscious, or cannot continue. No killing is allowed. Do both fighters understand and accept?" "I accept," growled. "I accept," said quietly. The administrator stepped back. A deep horn sounded across the arena. The fight began. Charged at once, crossing the ring in 3 huge steps. His fist swung towards head with enough force to break stone. She was not there. Had moved the moment the horn sounded. She stepped to the side and let his own speed carry him past her. Her hand touched his arm as he went by, a touch so light it seemed like nothing. But stumbled. His balance was suddenly wrong. He spun around with confusion on his face. "Pressure point," said calmly. "Right above your elbow. Your species has the same weak spot there that mine does. That arm will be weak for the next few minutes." The crowd began to whisper. Several students leaned forward in their seats. Snarled and attacked again. This time he tried to sweep. legs out from under her with a powerful kick. She jumped over it easily and landed in a crouch. "Your left leg is your balance point," she observed. "You favor it when you turn. That is a pattern. Patterns can be used against you." "Stop talking and fight," roared. He came at her with a storm of punches and kicks, combinations that would have beaten most fighters. Dodged some, blocked others, and took a few hits that she could not avoid. The impacts were hard, was strong, and his blows would leave bruises for days, but had been thrown by horses. She had been caught in a falling barn. She had once taken a direct kick from a scared bull and walked away with only cracked ribs. Pain was an old friend. She knew how to work through it. "You are slowing down," she said. She was barely breathing hard. "Your species is not built for long fights. You are sprinters, not runners." Satax grew wilder and more desperate. He was sweating now. His breath came in ragged gasps. The truth of his words showed in every tired movement. "My people," continued, circling him slowly, "used to hunt by running animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We would chase something for hours, sometimes days, until it could not run anymore. We did not need claws or fangs or poison. We just needed to keep going." She stopped circling. Her eyes met his. "I can do this all day, can you?" Threw himself at her one last time, putting everything into a desperate overhead strike. Caught his wrist. The arena went completely silent. She held his arm in place with one hand. Her grip was like iron. With her other hand, she placed her palm flat against his chest. "I could push right now," she said quietly, so only he could hear. 200 pounds of force right over your heart. Your people do not handle sudden impacts well. It would not kill you, but you would be in the medical center for a week." His eyes went wide. He suddenly understood that she had been holding back the whole fight, testing him, measuring him, finding every weakness. And she had found them all. "But I am not going to do that," continued. "Because I did not come here to hurt anyone. I came here to learn, to build bridges, to prove that humans are more than monsters." She let go of his wrist and stepped back. "I could beat you, we both know it now, but winning is not the point, understanding is." She held out her hand in the human gesture of peace. "I do not want to be your enemy, I would rather be your friend." He stared at her hand. His chest moved up and down as he tried to catch his breath. His pride screamed at him to refuse, to keep fighting until one of them could not stand. But under the pride was something else, something that knew the truth when it saw it. He took her hand. "You are not what I expected," he said slowly. "Neither are you," replied. The arena exploded into noise. Students of every species were shouting, cheering, clicking, and whistling. The sound was overwhelming. But barely noticed. She was looking at the respect growing in his eyes, and she felt something change. Maybe, she thought, bridges could be built after all. The months that followed were the best of his life. Her victory in the arena had changed everything. Students who had avoided her now came to talk. She found herself at the center of study groups. She was invited to social events. People asked her to share stories about Earth. And the stories she told surprised everyone. Yes, Earth was dangerous. Yes, humans had evolved as hunters, but they had also become caretakers, builders, and dreamers. Spoke of artists who created beauty from nothing. She told them about scientists who spent their lives healing the sick. She described communities that came together when times were hard. She talked about her family's ranch. She told them about the horses her mother trained with patience instead of force. She explained how her father's gentle hands could calm a frightened animal with just a touch. She helped them understand that humans feared their own capacity for violence, and that their whole civilization was built on trying to be better than their nature. "We know what we are," she said one evening. She was sitting with a group of students in the common room. "We know what we could become. That is why we try so hard to be better." Ra had become her closest friend, but others had joined their circle. There was X, a whose armor hid a gentle soul and a talent for music. There was a with a sharp sense of humor and a gift for building things. And there was who had surprised everyone by becoming one of his most loyal companions. "You taught me something important," he told her one night while they were studying in the library. "I thought strength meant being able to defeat your enemies. You showed me it can also mean choosing not to fight." Smiled. "I had a good teacher. My grandmother used to say that the strongest people she knew were the ones who had every reason to be hard, but chose to be kind instead." "Your grandmother sounds wise." "She was. She passed away when I was 12. "I am sorry." "Do not be." Eyes grew distant for a moment. "She lived a good life, and she taught me everything that matters." The peace lasted until the end of the second semester. It happened during the Festival of Lights, a yearly celebration that brought students together from across the galaxy. The campus was transformed into a wonderland of glowing decorations, floating lanterns, and shimmering light displays. Was enjoying the party with her friends when she noticed something wrong. A group of students had gathered near the main plaza. Their body language was tense and fearful. She pushed through the crowd and felt her stomach drop. Standing in the center of the plaza were 5 figures in dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets with black visors. Their posture was threatening. They carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. On their chest plates was a symbol recognized from her politics class, the mark of the Scourge. The Scourge were raiders, pirates, slavers. They attacked weak worlds and isolated stations, taking whatever they wanted and destroying what they could not use. They had been responsible for the destruction of 3 colony worlds in the past 10 years. And somehow, they had gotten onto the academy campus. "Where is the administrator?" asked sharply. "They took him," someone whispered. "First thing they did, they have the teachers too." Communications. Blocked, the whole campus is cut off from outside help. His mind raced. The academy had no real defenses. It had never needed them. The whole galaxy respected its neutrality and protected its mission. But the Scourge did not care about neutrality. "Listen up," the leader of the raiders stepped forward. His amplified voice carried across the plaza. "Here is how this works. We are taking hostages. Young ones from rich families, valuable species, anyone worth money. Cooperate and most of you will live. Resist." He raised his weapon and fired into the air. The energy blast left a burned streak across the dome above them. "Resist and we start with the weakest." His visor turned toward a cluster of students standing near the edge of the plaza. Their delicate wings were trembling. They would be the first to die if fighting broke out. Felt something cold settle in her chest. It was an old feeling, one she had worked hard to bury. It was the part of her that her grandmother had warned her about, the part that had kept her ancestors alive on a world that wanted them dead. The hunter. She had spent her whole time at the academy proving that humans were more than monsters, that they could be gentle and kind and peaceful. But sometimes, she remembered, peace needed someone willing to fight for it. "I am going to do something," she said quietly to her friends. "When I move, get the students out of here. Ra, you know the maintenance tunnels. Take them to the lower levels." "No," Ra grabbed her arm. "There are 5 of them. They have weapons." "I know. You could die." Looked at her friend, at the terror in those large glowing eyes, and smiled softly. "Maybe, but those students will definitely die if someone does not act, and I did not come this far just to watch innocent people get hurt." She gently removed Ra's hand from her arm. "I warned the academy once," she said, "that humans are the most dangerous thing in any room. I was trying so hard not to prove it." Her eyes found the raiders and something in them changed. The warmth faded. Something older and colder took its place. "I think it is time to stop trying." She began to walk toward the raiders with steady steps. The crowd parted before her. Students pressed back against the walls of the plaza. They had seen her in the arena. They knew what she was capable of. But this was different. This was not a controlled fight with rules and limits. This was a human from a being pushed into a corner. And everyone who had read the warning packets knew what happened when you cornered a human. Friends watched her go. Ra was already moving, quietly gathering the students and guiding them toward the maintenance access. Wanted to follow to fight beside her, but X held him back. "This is her fight," they said quietly. "We would only slow her down. But she is alone against 5 armed enemies." X looked at the human girl walking calmly toward death. His armored body rattled slightly, a sign of deep emotion in his species. "I do not think she is the one we should be worried about." In the center of the plaza, the raider leader noticed approaching. He turned his visor toward her, and even through the helmet she could feel his confusion. One small girl walking toward 5 armed warriors. She was either very brave or very stupid. He was about to find out which one. Stopped 10 feet away from the raider leader. Her hands hung loose at her sides. Her eyes were calm and cold. "Hey," she called out, her voice cut through the fearful silence. "The one in charge, I want to talk." The raider leader turned fully toward her. His visor reflected the festival lights. "Who are you?" "My name is Morgan. I am from Earth." Even behind the helmet, she could see him stiffen. His 4 companions shifted their grips on their weapons. "A human," the leader said slowly. "We have heard stories." "Then you know what I am about to say. Did not move, did not blink. Leave, take your ship, take your crew, and go. This is your only warning." Laughter erupted from the raiders. One of them actually bent over, his armored shoulders shaking with amusement. "A warning," the leader stepped closer. "You are one girl, we have weapons, armor, training. What exactly do you think you are going to do?" His expression did not change. "I am going to give you a chance to walk away. That is more than my ancestors would have done." "Your ancestors?" "Humans used to hunt by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We made wolves our friends by being scarier than wolves. We conquered our world not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because nothing could make us stop." She took 1 step forward. "You want to know what humans do when you corner them, when you threaten the people they care about, when you leave them no choice." Her voice dropped to something cold and quiet. "We stop pretending to be civilized." The leader raised his weapon. "Enough, take her." 2 raiders moved forward. They never reached her. Exploded into motion. She moved faster than anyone expected, faster than anyone thought possible. Her elbow caught the first raider in the throat, crushing his windpipe. Her knee found the second raider's stomach, and as he doubled over, she grabbed his helmet and slammed it into the ground. 2 seconds, 2 down. The third raider fired his weapon, was already moving, dropping low and rolling across the ground. The blast passed over her head. She came up inside his reach, her hand finding the nerve cluster at the base of his neck. He dropped like a stone. 3 seconds, 3 down. The fourth raider tried to run, caught him in 4 strides, her hand closing around his ankle. He fell hard, his weapon sliding away across the ground. A precise strike to his temple and he was unconscious. 4 seconds, 4 down. The leader was alone now. He backed away, his weapon shaking in his hands. Behind his visor, his eyes were wide with something he had never felt before. True fear. "What are you?" he whispered. Walked toward him. She was not even breathing hard. "I am a human," she said simply. "A product of a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we won." The leader fired. Moved like water, flowing around the blast. Her hand caught his wrist and twisted. The weapon fell. She kicked his legs out from under him and put her boot on his chest before he could get up. 5 seconds, 5 down. The plaza was completely silent. 300 students stood frozen, staring at the girl from Earth who had just taken apart 5 armed raiders in the time it takes to draw a breath. Looked down at the leader. Her eyes were cold. "I told you once," she said. "I asked you to leave. You did not listen." She leaned closer. "Humans have a saying, walk softly and carry a big stick. We try to be peaceful. We try to be kind. We build schools and hospitals. We write poetry and make music and dream of the stars." Her voice hardened. "But we never forget what we are. And when someone threatens the people we love, the things we have built, the peace we have worked so hard to create." She removed her boot from his chest and stepped back. "We remind the galaxy why they should have listened to the warning." Security teams arrived minutes later. Ra had used the maintenance tunnels to reach a communication relay that was not blocked. The raiders were taken away. The hostages were freed. The Festival of Lights continued, though no one felt much like celebrating. Found her friends waiting near the fountain in the center of the plaza. Ra was crying, her glowing skin pulsing with relief. X's armor was rattling with emotion, could not meet her eyes, and stepped forward and bowed deeper than any had ever bowed to an outsider. "I was wrong about you," he said. "I thought humans were monsters pretending to be civilized. Now I understand. You are civilized beings who have chosen not to be monsters. That is far more impressive." Felt the energy draining from her body. Tiredness replaced it. "I did not want to do that. I never want to do that." "I know." Ra reached out and took her hand. "That is why we love you." The word hung in the air between them. Love. Such a small word for such a big feeling. Looked at her friends. These alien beings from different worlds, different species, different paths of evolution. Somehow they had found each other, and they had found her. "Thank you," she said softly, "for seeing me. Not the hunter, not the monster, not the survivor, just me." Ra squeezed her hand. "That is all we ever saw." The incident at the Festival of Lights became legend. Stories spread across the galaxy about the human girl who had defeated 5 Scourge raiders with her bare hands in 5 seconds. Some versions were exaggerated. Others did not go far enough. But the core truth remained. Humanity was not to be underestimated. And perhaps more importantly, neither was kindness. Graduated from the academy with the highest honors. She went on to become one of the greatest diplomats in galactic history. She was known for finding peaceful solutions to problems that others thought impossible to solve. But she was also known for something else. When peace failed, when talking was not enough, when innocent lives were in danger, the diplomat from Earth remembered what she was. And the galaxy stayed quiet. Years later, a young student asked what advice she would give to someone trying to make their way in a dangerous universe. She smiled and said, "Be kind, be patient, be willing to listen and learn, build bridges instead of walls, try to see the best in people even when they cannot see it in themselves." She paused. "But never forget how to fight for what matters, and never be afraid to remind the darkness that some lights refuse to go out." The student nodded slowly. "And if people do not listen to warnings?" His eyes glinted with something ancient and dangerous, something that had kept her ancestors alive on a world that wanted them dead. "Then they learn," she said simply, "why we only give one." And across the galaxy, in bars and boardrooms and battleships, beings of every species told stories about the human girl who had warned them once. The girl who had made an entire alien school go quiet. The girl who had proven that the most dangerous thing in any room was not always the biggest or the strongest. Sometimes it was the one who had chosen to be kind. Until kindness was no longer an option.